Among the centers out there, many believe Lithuanian Jonas Valanciunas has the biggest upside. He's just 19 years old. He can run the floor at 6'11" and shows pretty good touch, including an 88% free throw rate last season. Here again, Coach David Blatt on what he sees for the young man stateside.
A long, tall, physically raw, but not basketball-wise raw. Big guy who's a little thin and a little bit light, but he's got the kind of frame that's going to allow him to put healthy weight on if he does it in the right way and at the right pace and proportion. Can block shots, can rebound, can run the court, catches the ball, which I always think is underrated in terms of big man performance, and got a little bit of an edge to him. Wants to play, wants to improve. I really like him. I really think he's the #1 upside guy in the draft.
Well, and you may not be alone, Coach Blatt. Valanciunas is #1 on David Aldridge's centers player rankings as well. And as you look at these guys, I want to talk generally about what a center is in the NBA these days. When we grew up, you had so many guys who played back to the basket. You don't see as many of those guys, or at least guys who do it well, anymore. So what are NBA executives looking for out of the center position?
Well, listen, you still look for the same thing, a back-to-the-basket prototype type player. The reality is, though, the position is not as sexy. And so a lot of these young kids, they don't grow up wanting to be the next Kareem or the next Shaq. And so ultimately they try to put more versatility into their game. They want to show you they can play out on the perimeter. And so I think that's had a huge impact on the development of that position. But you still will find a lot of guys who can play the position. They can defend the paint. They can defend the rim. I think defensively the position is still pretty solid, the center position, but you don't have the offensive firepower or repertoire that we've seen in years past.
Enes Kanter is going to be a high draft pick wherever he winds up on Thursday night. How does he project in terms of what he can do right now after a year off, basically watching at Kentucky?
You know, Matt, all we've got to go on is what the Kentucky coaches have said in practice. He was able to practice. He was ineligible, as everyone knows, because of the NCAA. But I think he's got great hands. I think he's tough and physical. I think he's got a little bit of a face-up game. But is he one of those like Al McGuire?
I was going to say,
aircraft carrier.
Which group does he fall into?
Yeah, he's not a. You know, I'd bemoan the loss of the skyhook, so I'm probably the wrong one to talk to. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be one of those kind of guys. What he is, though, is tough. And he's a hungry rebounder, and he's got mitts for hands now. He'll go after it. And he does have a face-up game. I think he could be a pick-and-pop guy a little bit. I think he's going to be a good player, but he's 19 years old, and we've got nothing to go on except the Nike Hoops Summit, and that was 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, and the guy who drafts him may not be the guy doing the drafting by the time he develops to the type of player that you projected him to be.
Yeah,
that's right.
They probably won't admit it, but some guys are considering are considering job security when making these picks as well. Kanter is #2 on David Aldridge's list of centers, and this is again based on productivity over the course of their career, at least how it projects out. Kanter #2 there. Jeremy Tyler is sitting there at #5. Interesting story. Remember, he was the young man who left high school to pursue a pro career, first in Israel, more recently in Japan, and Jeremy takes it from there.
I'm Jeremy Tyler. I'm from San Diego, California, and I play the power forward. Well, foregoing my senior year of high school basketball and going over to Israel and playing, basically substituting my senior year for my rookie year of overseas basketball. The next season played in Tokyo, which will be my freshman year of college. 2 very, very interesting years for me. Great development. I had a lot of learning experiences. I learned a lot, seen a lot of things, and I had a good time. The reason why I skipped, I felt like it was the best decision that I could have made, for myself. I can't really speak for everyone else. I thought that was the best way for me to get to my best potential. It was still like the best decision I could have ever made. And for the player I am now, then, when I left for what I thought I would be in college, I feel like I'm a little better now. Israel, was my first year, and it was definitely going to be a learning experience. I knew that before I got there. I knew it was not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And it was a lot of expectations, and and I was still developing as a basketball player. And once I got there, getting adjusted to the city, getting adjusted to the people and the language and the food and everything, kind of took longer than expected for me. Everything, it didn't work out the way I planned it, but I took everything positive. You know, like everything that happened, I'm glad it happened that year. And all the hard times, I took it in, I learned from it, I soaked it up like a sponge. And I told myself, I said, well, the next year and the years after that, I'm gonna grow every single year. Who I like to model my game after, most of my game is Amari Stoudemire. His aggressiveness and the way he approached the game and his emotion and everything, that's kind of compatible to me. I feel like I can come in and be a positive impact. I mean, if he's doing, whatever the coach wants to do, or, just kind of showing him everything I got. And, definitely be a positive teammate to the rest of my guys. And, I mean, draft night is still like a dream, and, hopefully when that day comes, my dream come true.
Well, it looks like Jeremy Tyler is going to wind up where eventually he wanted to be. It just took him a little while and a couple of stops and hemispheres to get there eventually. You got a guy who left high school to go play professionally in Israel and then in Japan. We talked about Enes Kanter, who came from Turkey to come play in the NCAA and then couldn't play at Kentucky. But he had a sort of, I don't know if I call him a teammate or not, because they didn't really play together, played there all 4 years, who's maybe a dark horse candidate at the center spot. I
would love to see my boy Josh Harrelden get drafted. If he does, he'll be the first guy ever to get drafted because of a tweet. There was an exhibition game early in October. He got about 30 boards, and Coach Cal didn't give him any love, didn't say boo. So he essentially tweets, what's a brother got to do? Well, Cal got mad, made him run. The guy turns into a workout junkie and has his best year. He's second in the league in the SEC in rebounding. He's a big, gigantic dude at 6'10", 270. He's one of those true kind of post guys, but like some of the new age guys, too, he can face up and shoot it. I'd love to see that kid get picked.
I'm sure he would agree.
Yeah, I think
they call him Jorts because he wears jean shorts. Now he's going to have to do something about that.
That's a problem, and probably more than I wanted to know about Josh, frankly. Exhaustive draft coverage throughout the week here on NBA TV. Of course, Thursday night is the night itself. You'll see the draft preview at 6 Eastern time. And, of course, instant analysis throughout the night during the draft and our recap at midnight Eastern time right here on NBA TV.